Shane Wright or Uri Slafkovsky? It's draft day, and Montreal will be soon on the clock. Who will they select with the first pick, Wright or Slafkovsky? This is a final comparison. Maybe we can figure it out. Hey, everybody, I'm Rick. Welcome to Talking Habs, where you get your daily fix of Bleu Blanc Rouge. So it's draft day. It's finally here. And with Habs GM Kent Hughes saying they haven't fully decided who to pick, and that's as of yesterday. And a last-minute scheduled meeting today with Uri Slafkovsky. Speculation is still running wild on who it'll be. There's a really good article by David St. Louis of Elite Prospects. Here, I'm going to show you the article that gives a pretty good comparison and shows how extremely close these two players are. I'll go over a lot of this article and come to a conclusion at the end. I'm going to give his conclusion, and I've got my own. All right, so he has an opening, kind of like what I just did, so we don't have to deal with that, but we'll get into the meat of it. Performance analysis. As of now, most of the discourse around these prospects and their ranking has been centered around their performance this season. Slafkovsky's ability to take charge on the international stage, his low production in Liga, and Wright's own numbers in the OHL, his reputation and lack of intensity. A prospect's performance is important. It speaks to his makeup and character, and it also holds predictive value. Draft year numbers are usually a good indication of upside. While in most cohort predictive models, Wright comes out significantly ahead of Slafkovsky due to his higher scoring numbers in his main league. Slafkovsky also put up a strong production against close to NHL talents in a decent sample of games on the international stage. These games can't be ignored when projecting him. So they show these are, I guess, analytic predictions. Shane Wright, 97% chance of becoming a star, 99% chance of becoming an NHLer. That's 200 plus games in the NHL, I believe, and at a certain level. Slafkovsky, and I don't know if these numbers are right, but 3% chance of becoming a star and only 23% chance of becoming an NHLer. And I don't understand how these two players then can be compared like this. If those are accurate numbers on Slafkovsky, I don't pretend to understand analytics 100% at all. But I thought I got to show that. So now, some players flash because they can. Logan Cooley, for example, played in an incredibly permissive system this year with all-star teammates against weaker competition. He could try every play in the book without being punished. Some players are restricted by their environment. Wright's team had a more collective focus. They played a football-like game that was based on a lot of short passes. Wright, being the leader by example that he is, might have adapted his game to that system, something that could have reduced his scoring totals and made him seem like less of a carry-type forward. And some players go through ups and downs due to a change in environment. Slafkovsky didn't perform in Liga in a more strict system where he got fewer minutes and puck touches. That's like the NHL. But he was used as a puck transporter at the IIHF World Championships and got the runways to pick up speed, ice time, a high volume of puck touches, and the support of at least one NHL caliber teammate. He was able to deliver impressive performances. We can only imagine how each prospect would have performed in each other's circumstances. Would Wright have scored at close to record totals in the US NDTP? Would he have earned more minutes than Slafkovsky in Liga and in turn produced more than him? Would Slafkovsky have scored more than Wright in Kingston? It's hard to know, but these are all scenarios one has to think about when ranking players with vastly different contexts like Wright and Slafkovsky. So you can see where the difficulty is on trying to compare these two guys, right? Different leagues, different positions, and different results, in different areas of the game. So it's kind of hard to make an exact comparison for these guys, and you can see why. Numbers have a way of shaping a narrative, and in small sample sizes, they can sometimes lead you to the wrong conclusions. It's also why one can only give so much weight to Uri Slafkovsky's tournament performances. With the information we have when strictly evaluating performance. If one values consistency of production, Wright comes out ahead of Slafkovsky with his close to 1.5 points per game OHL production. If one values a player's ability to step up when it counts, Slafkovsky wins out. His 7 goals at the Olympics, 7 points in 18 games in the Liga playoffs, and his 9 points in 8 games at the World Championships seem of more importance than Wright's own 14 points in 11 OHL playoff games. I challenge this in only one way. If you look at the teams that Slafkovsky was really successful against in those tournaments and that what he was talking about, they're weaker teams, and he wasn't nearly as successful against the top teams. And it's not mentioned here, and I think it's important, but that's me. On the more advanced statistical measures, the micro-tracking stats, Wright likely beats Slafkovsky. We only have the Wingers Liga measures to go as a potential comparison, not as international ones, but as Wright has one of the best profiles ever on Mitch Brown's data set, with close to perfect scores on the offensive and transition metric. It's hard to envision that Slafkovsky's underlying numbers were better this season. And you can see there, overall, 100. On offense, 100 he scored. Transition, 99. And on defense was the only one that wasn't as good, 71. But, I mean, he's a top 6 forward. I imagine that 71 is pretty damn good. Overall, again, on strict performance analysis, both players seem relatively equal, with arguments on both sides that tend to even themselves out in the end. Compared to expectations, Wright underperformed and Slafkovsky overperformed. Those expectations matter, but they don't have a bearing on the ranking of both players, as it's hard to frame their impact. I live in a bit of a construction zone right now. They're doing all kinds of work. I guess they're back from lunch. There may be some noises. I apologize. I'm trying to get through this. It's best to resist the temptation to grade a player more harshly because of his reputation, or more positively because of his late rise. As of today, no study that I know of has managed to show without a doubt that it's better to favor late risers at the draft. That would be Slafkovsky. He is a late riser. Projection analysis. The evaluation of these two prospects can't stop at their play and numbers in their draft year, as top-end prospects, especially, evolve to stay or move ahead of their competition as they mature. Projection matters more than performance. It's more valuable to compare Wright and Slafkovsky not on their current results, but on what their play will look like in 5 years at the peak of their respective career. We can't know the future, but we can forecast it based on a few elements, like a prospect's skills and the expected development of those skills, which is something we can predict from the improvements of past prospects. So here they're showing the 6 categories and their ratings. Wright in skating rates a 6, Slafkovsky a 5. In shooting, Wright is a 6.5, Slafkovsky a 6. In passing, Wright's a 7, Slafkovsky a 6.5. In puck handling, Wright's a 6, Slafkovsky is a 7.5. In hockey sense, which they'll say in a minute is the most important one here, Wright's a 7.5, Slafkovsky a 6. Physical, Wright's a 6, Slafkovsky's an 8, which is kind of predictable considering their sizes. All the skill grades we give out at elite prospects are projections. They're an indication of how good skill will be in a few years after development, compared to an average NHL player if the prospect reaches his realistic upside. 5 is an average grade, 9 an elite one. As you can see, we project that almost, and you can notice none of them had elite numbers. We project that almost all the skills of Wright and Slafkovsky will be above average at their peak. Those skill grades also have an equal average. If we give a bit more weight to the hockey sense mark, which seems fair as it's the most important skill, a player's awareness, processing, and anticipation is the foundation of his game. Shane Wright comes out ahead slightly. This is an early indication that, based on the view of our scouts, Wright has a higher upside. Doesn't mean he's going to hit the upside, of course, but Wright's upside, according to these guys, is higher. On defense, Wright, the most recurring criticism of Wright's play is his low intensity, his tendency on the back check and forecheck to lower his stride rate when not immediately involved in the play. That facet of his game rightfully annoyed some scouts this season who wanted Wright to aggressively pursue the puck. The center plays at a pace that maximizes his space. His game is based on controlling his speed and arriving at the right time at the right place. Quite often this season, he avoided overpressuring the opposition, as doing so could leave other attackers free of coverage and or congest certain areas of the ice, something that makes breakouts harder and as it limits passing options when a team gets the puck back. When he does join the NHL, Wright will have to find a balance between anticipating the game and pressuring the opposition. Switching between both mindsets at the right times is what will allow him to effectively shut down attackers. The Canadians shouldn't worry about Wright's ability to develop that pressure game, however. Many, if not most, top prospects significantly improve their motor as they rise up in level. A detail-oriented, lead-by-example, athletic, and high-stamina player like Wright shouldn't have any issue adapting his skating energy to the NHL. We already saw him significantly increase it in a small sample at the World Junior Under-20. Wright, with an improved motor, should become at least an above-average defensive player in the NHL and even potentially a shutdown center. Defense wasn't the main focus of Slafkovsky this season, but he seemed to care about that facet of his game. The effort was there. He got stints on the penalty kill and made a couple of impressive defensive plays on the international stage. His ability to physically engage opposing puck carrier and his long stick might give him a leg up on Wright in certain defensive situations in the NHL. Comparison: Slafkovsky doesn't have the same knack for positioning and anticipating the game as Wright. He had trouble solving more complex defensive situations that involves more positional switches. This could remain an issue in the NHL. Wright projects as a better defensive player. It's also likely that his defensive involvement, impact, and control will be greater considering his center role. Winner, Wright. Playmaking, transition, and offensive zone. Wright was already making an NHL-type transition game in the OHL, using a lot of short passes and give-and-goes to get the puck from the defensive zone to the offensive zone. His awareness, processing speed, and ability to mentally map out the ice and find teammates quickly in their expected spots should make him an efficient and effective playmaker at the NHL level. His smart management of possession and the way he passes inside space across the ice and back to his defenseman will allow his team to keep control of the puck and find new attack angles to break the opposition. Slafkovsky's playmaking game is quite different from Wright's. This season, he wanted the puck on his stick for as long as possible. He aimed to beat at least one defender, sometimes more, before passing to a teammate. Because of his fast processing and handling speed and his confidence in his own abilities, it's likely that Slafkovsky will break more defenses than Wright in the NHL and generate more highlight reel plays over his career. But his aggressive playmaking style will have to undergo some changes inside an NHL system. Slafkovsky's rush game looked dominant at the World Championships, partly because he often got the puck in open space, low in the defensive zone, not unlike a center. The runways he was given on the larger ice allowed him to accumulate speed and then move through some relatively permissive defenses at times. Slafkovsky won't get runways in the NHL or as much open space as a center. I mean, that's, of course, as the players are better and the speed is faster. He will start most breakouts at a standstill on the boards or in close proximity to the defensive line across the ice as he looks to push them back to create space for his teammate on the breakout. Slafkovsky likely won't have the three-step burst necessary to escape NHL forecheckers with the puck in these instances. If he wants to avoid turnovers, he will have to fall back on a style of play that is closer to Wright, a quick passing one. The winger doesn't have the same mental map of the ice or the same understanding of offensive principles and puck movements. He doesn't anticipate the position of teammates or instinctively knows the next best play as often as Wright. That being said, it's very likely that Slafkovsky's high-level skills and ability to instantly spot gaps in coverage will allow him to develop that more efficient short passing game over time. Comparison: both players could reach a similar amount of assists. It's harder to develop the high-end manipulative abilities that Slafkovsky possesses than the give-and-go game of Wright, but Wright's current collective game is more translatable to the NHL than Slafkovsky's. Slafkovsky is more of a solo creator, a player who beats the opposition with his straight physical and handling skills, two elements that won't be as effective against the top-end, speedy and strong NHL opposition. Due to his more translatable style of play, Wright has a slight edge in playmaking category, so the winner is Wright. We're getting near the end. Off-puck offensive game. This refers to the ability of a player to position himself offensively to become an option for teammates. Supporting teammates is what Wright does best. He understands the angle, the routes, and the speed he has to take to give the longest and easiest passing window to teammates. He doesn't overskate lanes. He knows when to keep high position away from the play, when to let it develop, and when to act on it. This ability should allow him to consistently get the puck in favorable conditions at the NHL level. With a bit more time and space, that time and space will allow him to find and make good next plays. Slafkovsky is more of a creator with the puck than away from it. He hasn't shown a Wright-like ability to position away from the puck to make the plays of teammates evident and easier. He works best with teammates who can do that for him. So in this, the winner is Wright. And I mean, Wright has a 200-foot game. We already know that going in. So that, we know away from the puck, Wright should be the better player and have the best results. Could Slafkovsky develop a better game that way? Of course, over time. Physical game. The boards and the front of the net are Slafkovsky's territories. At his peak, he should be winning significantly more battles with his size, strength, and shielding techniques than Wright. Not only that, but the winger has already shown an ability to spin off of defenders to attack inside ice, a sought-after ability in the NHL. Wright didn't shy away from board battles this season. He has the stature and the skating to learn to apply much better puck protection mechanics. It's very likely that he develops those. Many others did before him. But it's no contest here. Slafkovsky could become one of the more fierce physical players in the NHL. So in the physical game, no surprise. The winner is Slafkovsky. It's not a surprise at all. Scoring game. Slafkovsky has the more powerful and diverse arsenal of releases, but it's around the net that he will likely find more of his goals. His physical skills allowing him to slip between defenders and the goalie to screen and get his stick on rebounds. Wright only used one shot for most of the season, a quick inside leg release that had some mechanical quirks like an upper body that flawed back as he fired. That release is still deceptive enough to score in the NHL, although top goalies might start to read it after a little while. It's likely that Wright will expand his arsenal of shots as many other great junior shooters did before him. And even if he doesn't, the lack of diversity in his scoring game might not matter too much, as his main scoring tool will likely be his instinct, his ability to attack pockets of space at the right time in the offensive zone to avoid checking pressure, fire off passes, and find the back of the net before goalies can cover all the angles. So the conclusion, both players have 30-goal upside, which is really nice to hear. So it's an equal split there. And, I hadn't really thought about it, but, Shane Wright having an upside of 30 goals, I'd like to see that. I'd like to see him do that when they pick him. If they pick him, who knows? Now, the value of their role. While many NHL teams give more value to center over wingers, and we've talked about that. Shane Wright's a center. You take a center over a winger. This is not really an instance where this rule applies. Yes, Wright can pivot a line, but Slafkovsky's package of skills could make him a rare asset in the NHL. A top-line power forward, it's a role that is just as much on demand as a top-6 center. So, okay, that makes some sense there. So maybe, if you find they're both equal, you got to look elsewhere to say, well, we need a center. Maybe that's true. I don't know. I'll give him that. So his conclusion overall, when projecting each player's skill and impact over the different facets of the game, Wright comes out ahead of Slafkovsky due to his greater collective play, his pass and reposition, NHL style of game, and potential defensive impact. Slafkovsky will very likely generate many more highlight reel plays and dominate the boards in the slot, but Wright should have a greater influence over the rest of the 200 feet of the ice. It doesn't mean that all of the development projections made in this article will materialize, but they were all realistic assumptions based on what we know of the game of the two prospects, what they flashed in terms of high-end NHL talents this season, and the development of other similar top prospects through the years. Unless the character and background evaluations reveal something that significantly influences their projection, based on our read of the prospects' games this season, stats, overall performance, and the projection of their skill and NHL play, if I was selecting for Montreal on the draft day, that's David St. Louis, Wright would be my choice. From what we know at the moment, he has a higher upside and a higher likelihood of reaching that upside. Now, my conclusion. Even though Slafkovsky looks to be closer to Wright than I thought, there are aspects of Wright's game that outweigh what Slafkovsky is better at. Slaf doesn't solidify you down the middle for years to come, and you can't count on being lucky enough to get Connor Bedard next year. Secure the future today, literally today. Wright's 200-foot game and command of the ice, his character and leadership say to me that he is the number one pick, and the player the Montreal Canadiens will select today to open the 2022 NHL draft. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, give a comment, leave a comment in the comment section. Really appreciate that. Stay safe out there. Till next time, which is the live stream tonight. Peace out, and I'll see you soon. I'll see you then. Check out the video that just popped up in the corner, and that's it. Thanks, and let's see who they pick tonight. Either way, I'm going to support either player that they pick, and that's that. Bye-bye, everybody.